But that's just the West. There's Eastern dragons as well. Now, there's three things you need to remember when comparing Western dragons to Eastern dragons. One, Eastern dragons are not about fire, they're about water.
Yep.
Two, they're not mindless killing machines. Some of them are quite smart. Three, they are crazy immortal. So, those are the three major differences. But let me start with everyone's favorite, I swear to God, when it evolves, it'll kill you all.
Mr. Fish.
All right, very good, very good. You read that too.
The Gyarados
She was here last year.
is based on a legend, a Chinese legend of something called the Dragon's Gate. If a carp jumps over the Dragon's Gate, it turns into a dragon.
So as it tries to splash over futilely, it has to gain level 20 to be relatively or at all useful.
All I gotta say is,
Or kicked by
this is like, still to this day, one of the best water types in the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is still vicious. Now, that's not the only type of water dragon you find. This here is based on a spirit known as the Ryu. And the Ryu is a sort of proto-dragon, a long serpent that lives in caves underwater. By night, it comes out of the cave up to the surface where it tries to catch pearls that fall down from the heavens. The more pearls it catches, the longer it becomes, the more graceful it becomes.
So it must catch them all. I see what you did
And
there.
when it catches its last pearl, it becomes a beautiful dragon that soars through the sky, bringing wisdom and magic for all. So there you have the story of Dragonair. Obviously Hydra. The name, it's Hydragon. Obviously Hydra. But not the Hydra you're thinking of. There is a Japanese legend of a creature known as the Orochi. The Orochi was a multi-headed serpent that served the god Yamato no Orochi. Yamato no Orochi would demand that villages give him virgins. He would marry the virgin, kill the virgin, feed her to the snake. This happened since time immemorial until perennial dick older brother Susanoo shows up trying to find something to give to his sister. He finds a princess that's about to be fed to the Orochi, and he decides to save her. So he gets a lot of sake and gets the Orochi drunk, and begins cutting it to pieces. When he reaches the Orochi's tail, his sword breaks. He reaches into the tail and pulls out the Cloud Cluster sword, which he then presents to his sister. His sister then gives it to the imperial family. He gets back into heaven. No mess, no foul. But that is where you get the idea for the Hydragon, this multi-headed angry serpent that serves an angry god. Or you could have just gotten him from, well,
Hydra.
no, him. Seriously, 3 heads, long tail, angry disposition.
Per chance for
pretty
punching
much-
Godzilla.
So,
They did the same thing in Golden Sun, too.
yes, they do. I love that game.
Are there also sky dragons in Eastern mythology too?
Dragons fly, but they undulate through the sky, so they don't really have wings, but they're kept aloft by the strength of their righteousness. The winged dragon is something you tend to find in the West. All the legends of dragons. I mean, dragons in Mesopotamia had no wings and they never flew. They just kind of were giant serpents that walked the land and burned down cities. So, or if you want to refer to have fun with some dragons, go to Africa and talk about dragons. They'll point to crocodiles. In Africa, they get to be 25 feet long. What's the difference between that and a dragon? Nothing. So now we have gods. Because sometimes they like to get their ideas by simply looking at pictures of gods and creating Pokemon around them. Let's start off with easy one. The Kami Trio. You have, Gen 5 gave us Tornadus, Thundurus, and Landorus. Now in many cases they were trying to be as accurate. Like Tornadus has the same coloration as Fujin, god of the wind. They have the same kind of monstrous look that you find in these primordial gods that were originally very scary ogre-like creatures, but in actuality were quite wise and they didn't try to hurt people. The problem is when dealing with the god of the land. You see, they made all 3 of them look scary, but Inari, that Landorus is based on, the god of the land isn't exactly a monster, it's more of a fox. So wouldn't that make Leafeon the god of the land, technically? I don't know, the jury is still out, but Inari is almost always depicted as a fox creature. every single Lucario I have is named Skywalker. I have to do it. That is the greatest name for a Lucario I could think of. But it's based on the idea. You advance the slide. It's based on the idea of Anubis. Anubis is the jackal-headed god that protects the gates to the underworld in Egyptian mythology. He can see your aura, he knows when you're about to die, he punches you when you die, and you go to hell. That's about what Lucario does. He looks angry and punches you into hell. Now, how many people here have walked past a Buddhist shrine and seen the two lions? This is a universal Asian concept that's known as the Shisa, the Koma Inu, the guardian spirit. Now, over on this side, we have the Koma Inu. Koma Inu are known as fire-breathing, angry dogs, one with its mouth closed, one with its mouth open, that flank shrines and keep the evil spirits away, not quite unlike the Articuno, the Arcanine and the Growlithe. Scary fire dog that protects the shrine. But you go right across the water to China, and you get the notion of the Shisa guardian lion, which is a big, angry, lion-like thing that breathes fire, protects the shrine, works for the priests, and smacks down any humans that annoy it. Not too different from okay. For the record, it doesn't really look like a dog.
He's a gerbil.
It's a gerbil. It's a fire-breathing gerbil. Lugia, based on Ryujin, god of the ocean, often depicted as a dragon that sweeps through the water till it jumps up into the sky and is best friends with Hello Kitty. Now this one here, another one of those near universal mythological ideas is the notion of the world turtle. The notion that we live in a world that floats on the back of a turtle swimming through the cosmos. There is a fairy tale about a turtle that walks through the forest with an entire world on its back in a teacup. If you go to China, the entire world exists on the back of a turtle. The Aztec name for this particular god was Kab Ayin, the grand caiman or the grand turtle that swam in the ocean. And then you have Torterra, where Pokemon are born and live their entire life on its back without ever realizing that they're on the back of a turtle. So, again, universal mythology given form in the Pokemon series.
But what gender is the turtle?
Girl.
It's beyond gender, it's ageless. Oh, no.
Betty White?
No. I have a better one for you. Some species of amphibian have been known to change sex in a single-sex environment. Life finds a way. Ian Malcolm. I put Jurassic Park in a Pokemon panel without referring to dinosaurs. What? Okay, so, ghosts. Ghosts, again, universal idea. The spirit can be active after death. They haunt, they creep, they crawl, they scare. There are so many different ghosts and spirits. I will again pimp my yokai panel in a couple of hours. You'll meet a few of them there. This notion that the dead don't stay dead. Our fear of the unknown, our fear of the world beyond this one, it gets manifest in these really creepy things. Pokemon is no exception, because they have a lot of different ghost types. Let's take a look at some. The Reaper Pokemon. It flies into your house and scares the bejesus out of you. The Will-o'-the-Wisp, the disembodied floating ball of light that leads you off into the moor so you can drown in the water and then get sucked down to become a ghost like it is.
Or turn your mom into a bear.
I like the Brave references. The Banshee, the disembodied floating head that flies to the sky, who, according to some legends, its cry kills you. According to more legends, it simply is the herald that death is coming. Watch out, someone's gonna die.
Is there a Dullahan Pokemon yet?
There is no Dullahan. I've looked for a Dullahan Pokemon. I have yet to find a Dullahan Pokemon. For those of you who don't know what a Dullahan is, Selkie Strilson. Now then we have this idea of the Tsukumogami with the ghostly fire going through the world, setting fire to things. Now, my favorite one to talk about is the Drowsy. First of all, Drowsy isn't a ghost type, but you know what it's based on?
The Baku.
The Baku. Thank you for knowing that. The Baku is a dream-eating pig that comes into your house, lays its snout on your head, and sucks all your dreams out. Drowsy puts you to sleep and uses Dream Eater.
So what about Hypno?
Hypno is just a Baku without a snout.
And a fucking dollar.
Yeah. The Fair Folk. The elves, the wee people, the little people that lived in the world before we did. The fairies, there's so much fairy lore out there. Oh my God, I just said a Dean Winchester line. There's so much fairy lore out there. Yeah. Son of a bitch.
And it's all plain changeling.
There's so much fairy lore out there. Pokemon likes to work with the fairy lore to create its fairy types. Let's look at a few. So, the idea of the wood sprite. The Lorax that speaks for the trees. The Kodama that goes click, click, click before it dies in Princess Mononoke. The notion of the guardian spirit embodied in the dryads and the forest, that there is Celebi. Celebi is one of the reasons I'm doing this panel right now. Now, there's two ways of looking at Phoebus and Milotic. The ugly duckling turns into a beautiful swan. However, Irish pixie lore states that the most beautiful pixies have the ugliest babies.
Very true.
Now, in case of some legends, all fairies come from the moon. Now, Hey Carl, I now officially know what I'm leaving you in my will.
Damn it!
No. You know what I'm leaving you in my will? A boot to the head.
Yes!
Now, one worse on my head.
There is a legend of a creature known as the Kelpie. The Kelpie is the water horse. It rises out of lakes and rivers and beckons to you. If you climb on the back of the Kelpie, it pulls you underwater and you drown or you get money.
The teeth of Menonite.
It depends on the legend, but this notion of the water horse lurking in the rivers got morphed into the Keldeo. A water horse and My Little Pony rejected character concept.
Fanfic writers, get to work.
Cryptids. Do they exist? Maybe. Life's cooler if we think they do. Sometimes it's obvious. Abominable snowman. Prowling the slopes of the Himalayan mountains, or in some cases the Pacific Northwest, beating people up and eating them. The Loch Ness Monster, which at least according to one textbook actually exists now.
Christian Science reading room right up the block next to the Dunkin' Donuts here in Hartford, Connecticut.
The notion of the plesiosaur with the 4 fins in the head and all this Loch Ness crap, there you go. Lapras, you're done.
And it's a freelance taxi service.
Mandragora. The plant that has the ability to turn you to stone with its cry or cure petrification is often seen as a little cute thing that walks around on 2 feet as...
Pot that away, Harry.
Yes, as the...
Can it cure cancer?
No. Okay, Dunsparce. What's the deal with Dunsparce?
No thought, no.
It's based on a cryptid. They're now, in the year 2000, in Aoyama Prefecture in Japan, they discovered the remains of what they thought was a flying snake. It was a flattened thing that they thought was a flying snake. They named it the Tsuchinoko. And the Tsuchinoko is the Loch Ness Monster of Japan. The moment they found these bones, Tsuchinoko Winery, Tsuchinoko Dance Club, Tsuchinoko Grocery, Tsuchinoko Hotel, Tsuchinoko Car Service. Today, if you go to that place, there's Tsuchinoko everything found in that town, even though they now know that it was a snake that got crushed by a balloon. But that's the notion of the Loch Ness Monster of Japan, embodied in the idea of the Tsuchinoko. So now we have the last few Pokemon. I'm going to let you choose. Which one of these 6 do you want me to talk about first?
Regirock.
Okay, let's do it by show of hands. Ready?
No, he said first. We're going with the Regis.
Damn.
The Regis, very simple. There is a story of a creature called the Golem. The Golem is made from stone or wood or flesh, if you're into Frankenstein. Clay is made out of some inanimate object that is given life. Then it becomes a mindless thing that works to serve you.
Oh,
The Regis are dumb as a post,
legend?
ridiculously powerful, and they
Jewish
exist to serve you.
Hebrew.
Which one do you want to do next? Okay, you choose. Yeah, pick one of these. Pick one. Rapidash? Oh, you mean My Little Pony top? No. Rapidash is based on the idea of the celestial horse. Sun god Helios would have 2 fiery horses pulling his chariot across the sky by day, giving light to the world. Now, a lot of people will say to me, what about the nightmare? That fancy little picture of the ghost horse that's been circulating since, I think, the 19th century. The nightmare is the flaming horse is a D&D creation. The nightmare in that picture is the imp sitting on her chest. But the same notion of the fiery horse from the other world that comes into ours and sets things ablaze. You know what? Since we talked about the hell horse, let's talk about the hound owl. The hellhound. The fiery hound of the underworld that breathes fire, has a sour disposition, and is known for ripping the hell out of Dean Winchester. I have now made 2 supernatural references today.
Unreal.
But you know, again, the hellhound is found in Greek mythology, it's found in Christian mythology. There's versions of the hellhound where they call it black shuck or the black dog that you find in the Celtic Isles.
Or Harry Potter.
Angry dog spirit. Okay, so we got the 3 up top.
Execute.
Yes.
Execute is a bunch of eggs. Executor is based on a yokai called the Jinmenju. The Jinmenju is a tree, and all the fruit of this tree is different human faces.
Inuyasha.
So when you pick the fruit, it looks like fruit. When you go to bite it, it takes a bite out of you.
Inuyasha. They do that in Inuyasha.
Yep, Inuyasha, lots of great yokai in there.
Yep.
But that's the Jinmenju. Okay. Okay.
458, 2 to go. Can he do
Okay.
it?
So you're a poor farmer living in a village in Japan or Malaysia or Vietnam. It's down all over the place. Someone comes running into town screaming, "The Basan is coming! The Basan is coming!" Next thing you know, a 20-foot tall, giant, fire-breathing chicken comes out of the forest and burns your village to the ground.
And nobody believes it.
That is where that legend comes from. If you type Basan into the internet, you will find an ukiyo-e style picture of a fire-breathing chicken. Yeah, so that's where the combustion comes from. Now, the last one is the Tyranitar. The name implies Tyrannosaurus Rex, right?
And yet,
there's any Dungeons and Dragons players in the room? I'm sure you've all heard of a monster called the Tarrasque. A voracious bipedal reptilian monstrosity that wakes up every 20 or 30 years to eat everything in its path until someone manages to beat it up or it falls asleep. Now, the Tarrasque is based on a French legend of this legendary reptilian creature that would rise up out of the ground, eat everything in front of it, including stones and dirt, and then fall asleep when it was full. So you create a creature that takes forever to wake up, eats everything in front of it, and then goes to sleep. So, I hope you enjoyed this little trip into the mythological world of Pokemon. Alright.
it's 5 p.m. This is Mr. Charles Dunbar. Charles, where can we see you next here at Connecticon?
I am going to be doing, in a couple of hours, Kawaii, Yurei Yokai, and Scary Japan. Followed a half an hour later by Chocobos Ate My Baby, Narrative and the Evolution of Final Fantasy VII. That's today. Tomorrow, I'm doing a panel on anime openings, and I'm doing Carry On Wayward Son, 7 Years of Supernatural.
All right.